Thank you for joining us to this webinar. My name is Daniel. Today's webinar is our part of our Stay at Home MoCap series for our users out there so they can join us and learn about our motion capture hardware and learn about our third-party software partners out there as well. For today's webinar, we're going to be joining with Kai to discuss about iClone, go over a couple of workflows and tricks to work with, and we're also going to be introducing a remote cap data as well for our users. We all know that these in times where we're working from home and unable to the office, this becomes quite remotely. So I'm going to be walking through that as well. If you missed this webinar, we're going to have this recorded and we're going to share it through our YouTube channel. Just make sure you guys follow through our YouTube channel. And we also have a series of videos that we've recorded previously during these times, so you guys can have a lot of assets and videos to use as reference. Team members, if you have any questions, team members are Ari, James, myself, Alvarez. If you for us, please do emails. That is our contact information. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a guest, Kai, joining us today. He's from Reallusion. He's been with Reallusion for a very long time. You'll remember him, remember his voice from a lot of the video tutorials out there from Reallusion, who shares a vast of knowledge for all of our users out there and for iClone users. So he is in the chat today with us. I'm super excited to have him here to walk us through with the workflow. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the workflow from Perception Neuron into iClone in real time, which is quite useful for a lot of users who have characters, assets, and you want to just be your character, perform in a scene. This is the solution that works great for you. And iClone comes with a bunch of tools that you can work with so you can get that data going inside of the software. Obviously, just a quick heads up, all of our products from Perception Neuron W2, Perception Neuron Pro, and Perception Neuron Studio all work with iClone. So if you have one of our, Perception Neuron W2 version 1 suits, sure enough, it works with iClone all the way to Perception Neuron Studio. For this webinar, we're going to be using Perception Neuron Studio. Perception Neuron Studio has full body mocap, and we also have finger tracking. All the devices I'm wearing right now are fully wireless and supported with iClone 7, which is great because you get all the details you need for your characters, which is what we ultimately want. As I mentioned earlier as well, we're going to be demoing a very important tool that we need these days, which is quite helpful for a lot of studios. We're going to be broadcasting my data over to Kai's computer where he's remotely working. So this works well if I'm essentially a mocap actor and Kai is the creative director or he's a producer of some sort, and he needs to get my data into a character he's come up with. So without the need to book a flight, go over to his studio, or get into close proximity, I can send the data over through the cloud, and he basically taps into a IP address cloud base and gets my mocap data into iClone. So it's quite easy, straightforward. It's just a simple IP address with a port number, and then instantly he taps into my mocap data. And I'll go briefly over through how that process works. So that's our PN remote. I have our web link there, github.com/neuronmocap.com. That's where you're going to find a lot of the assets so that you can create this workflow yourself. So that's quite important for those users who want to test that out. So I'll go ahead and jump into demo. First, I'm just going to go briefly, real quick, how the setup goes inside of Access Studio. I've already have my studio running. I have full body finger session already running. So let's go ahead and switch over to the Access Studio here. So let me make sure that I can switch over to Access Studio. And here's Access Studio. This is the software that runs our Perception Neuron Studio hardware. So from the get-go, you'll see that we have a viewport in the middle. We have a session on the right-hand side that shows how many characters we have connected with my name at the bottom. Very important just to know. In the panel here, you see a little avatar, 2D avatar, just showcasing the status of the sensors, if you're getting a good signal or not. And then we have a couple of tools here at the right-hand side where we can do a posture calibration, zero pose, and some tools that you need so you can get started. At the top here, I have already some information on my hub. The hub that I'm using is called a transceiver in this case. This transceiver is currently connected as a USB Ethernet device. It also supports Ethernet connections, so you can connect this through a PoE switch so that you can add more transceivers over a network so you can amplify signal coverage for your suit. For this purpose, I'm just using a single transceiver, and I have it already activated on a green channel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to calibrate my suit first just to make sure all my sensors are running well. What I need to do, of course, I need to select my body size, which is in height, I'm 165 centimeters. I have that pre-selected. I've already checked my device details, and everything at the moment is quite well. You can see there's some sensors are low in battery, but this is some of the features that Access Studio has. You can see what the current sensors look like as far as magnetic value goes in the environment, how the battery is behaving, signal transfer is. So these are good notes to keep in mind. So what I'll do is I've already checked all sections. Sensor placement is good. I've selected my body size, and I'm ready to do the posture calibration. So I will go ahead and select on this little 2D icon here where it says perform calibration. And then I will start with A, S, and T pose. So as soon as I click start, I need to make sure I'm ready to do the posture. S pose. Make sure you hold your positions. T pose. Okay, as soon as that's done, I can go ahead and check the rotation data on my avatar and make sure everything is good. So far, everything's looking good. I can even zoom in just to get a closer idea, lock into my character's hip position so I can follow him throughout the position, throughout the performance, and everything's looking good right now at the moment. So I got all the finger tracking data going. So now the next thing I need to do is send the data out. Right now the data is only pushing through Access Studio. So what I need to go is go into the main menu, go into settings, and then I have, these are the important selections you need to have in order so that you can send this data over to iClone 7. I currently have Perception Neuron skeleton selected. I have my displacement active. I have a TCP enabled with a local IP. Now this local IP is very important because I currently have my server running. It's an application is running on my computer that's capturing the data to the local network and then sending it out to a specified address, which the Reallusion team. So that is looking good, and the data is capturing. I have my going to the device, and just to give you a quick snippet of how the data looks like, I'm going to go share my screen. You can see the command prompt that's doing the work. You can see that I'm sending the data over to our server and I'm getting frame rates. So I'm getting 60 frame rates. I can push this over to 120, maybe to 240. For the sake of this demo, we're doing 60 frames per second. So I'm ready on my side. I got my data flowing. I got my remote host sending it over to the server that we have for mocap. And now I'm gonna let our team Reallusion take over so that they can get the data remotely. So
Sounds good. Thanks, Daniel. We're ready to go over here at Reallusion. So I think what we'll do is we'll just start sharing our screen over here at Reallusion so we can show people the data that's coming through into iClone.
Great.
All right, so here we are in Reallusion. We have the data streaming live, and we see Daniel over there in the corner. And I guess what we'll do is we'll just, have a little bit of a walk around, maybe do a forward jump or something. And what we're going to do is we're recording this, of course, live over here in Vancouver, all the way from Miami. And like Daniel mentioned, very useful for, working remotely. This whole procedure, this whole timeline here, we can record stuff. We can preview him walking around. And once we're happy with the preview, once everything is, running smoothly and stuff like that, what we'll do is we'll move from preview mode and we'll start going to record mode. So once we switch from preview to record mode, then we can actually record stuff into the timeline. So we'll start recording you now, Daniel. We'll record maybe like 30 seconds of just kind of walking around and maybe do a quick jump. So we can go ahead and start that. I'll give you a cue. Yeah, okay, so now we're recording. So we can see Daniel just kind of doing his performance here, doing a jump. And maybe we'll get another jump on the way back here. And essentially what we can do is we can, with this data recorded, I can then save that in my timeline in iClone once it's finished recording here. I think we'll be okay with that. Maybe a couple more motions here and there just to get some good data that we can record. And there, we're done with the timeline. So I think that's good there. So you're done with all your performance there. We'll kind of skim through the timeline and you can see the recording data right there. So the next step we need to take is we'll play it back really quick and just kind of see the recording that we got from Daniel here. You can see pretty good jumps in some cases. And essentially what we're going to do at this point is once we're finished showing off all of Daniel's awesome moves, is we'll take it into the timeline, and then we'll record that, save that as a motion file from the timeline. So the way you do that is you need to go into your, you can see the data clip there in the motion track, and you need to go ahead and kind of just zoom out on the timeline to get the whole timeline in perspective there. And so all that data that we just recorded is in that motion clip in the motion track there. And what we need to do is we can, scroll through that and you can see all the effects. And then we'll just click and drag in the collect clip track, and we'll click and drag, basically just click and drag the entire thing, or whatever data we want to record, whatever data we want to send out. That'll be fine. And then we can just right click in the collect clip track and add the motion to library there. And once we add the motion to library, that'll save it as an iMotion file. And once we save it as an iMotion file, we'll just call it, whatever, Noitom. And once it's saved as an iMotion file, then we can, transfer it to any person really that has iClone. We can transfer this raw data to anyone on our team, and we can save that. And once it's recorded, then we can send it out to anyone and edit it and, modify it however we wish. And that's pretty much the process. And from here, it's really up to the person, the animator in iClone, to do all of the editing and to refine the clips, which I'll do in just a moment here. I'm going to show you how to refine the clip, edit it, and kind of emphasize certain motions. So we have the raw data recorded already, but what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do a lot of the editing and kind of showing how you can really enhance that raw capture in iClone and refine it according to the demands of your project. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to isolate the part of the jump that we want, the part of the raw recording that we want, and we're going to modify it and enhance it in iClone. So let's go ahead and take a look. We have our model here just like we had before. And what I'm going to do is just scroll through the timeline. You can see him getting prepared for the jump. Let's zoom out a little bit, and if we press space to play back, you can see he's going to be jumping. It's going to be kind of a little bit of a weak jump though, and that's what we did on purpose. We want that jump to be a little bit lame at first, and we're going to enhance it using the motion tools. So that's one way you can do it. There's a couple of rounds of jumping there. We can take either one. They're relatively the same. So let's go ahead and maybe we'll start as he starts running about here. And we're going to right click on the clip in the motion track and just break it. And then we'll just delete the first part of the clip that we don't want, all that extra material. And we'll take this clip and move it to the front. And then after he's finished the jump, he's in this position, then we can just go ahead and break it again. And then delete the rest of the raw motion data that we don't need. Okay, so now we have this cool, kind of cool jump, I guess, just like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to enhance it in various ways. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to enhance it with the jump itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Zoom in really close here on our character. And I'm going to scroll the timeline down a little bit. So the jump itself is probably, starting about here. We'll do the step before the jump, and we're going to break the clip one more time because we're going to enhance that part of the clip itself. Okay, we're going to make it a longer jump. So jump, and then kind of like a tiny little jump, and then landing right here. Okay, and then we're going to break it right here again. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this jump longer and more dynamic using motion editing. And so let's move this part down here. So the first thing we need to do is if the jump is going to be longer, we're going to have to make the actual motion longer as well. So we're going to take this part of the clip, the jump part, and we're going to use our speed, toggle on speed right here. We're going to click and drag, make it a little bit longer, maybe about 130 frames, just so we can see the effects of our edits a bit more, a bit easier. So see that the jump will be a bit slower. You can maybe even slow it down a little bit more. So now it's going to be really slow. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make some really simple motion key edits. And to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to basically he launches off his right foot right here. Okay. So launching off the right foot into the jump. So the first thing we want to do is the step before the launch. We're going to open up our motion key editor over here. Once our character is selected, we'll go over here to our animation tab and go to the edit motion layer tool. Let's just bring it over here for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to just press reset. So what reset is going to do is that's going to add, if we twirl down our motion layer tracks right here, that's going to add an absolute key for all of our body parts on our character. So it's going to maintain the raw data that's in this clip. Now, any other modifications we make, so for example, right here when he is ready to launch off of the right foot, we want to go ahead here and we want to take the waist down because we're going to really make it more dynamic. So we're going to take the waist, click on the waist and use the W hotkey to use our transform gizmo. We're going to move it down like this. Okay, we can keep the feet locked. It doesn't matter at this point. We can move it maybe a bit forward and just crouching down a little bit more. And I'm going to take the chest down and use the E hotkey to rotate it forward just like this. And we can also even maybe take the arms forward a little bit as well, just to, add more dynamism to the jump there. Okay, so now from here to here, he's crouching down more and he's getting ready to do that jump. Okay, so like this, you can maybe even enhance it a little bit further. Rotate that hip a little bit down. Okay, because we really want to make it much more dynamic than it was originally. So just imagine like a long jumper in the Olympics, and we're getting ready to do that. So now we have the raw data from the clip, but now it's transformed into this position right here. And for example, if we went to this frame right here, frame 44 or whatever, and we press reset, it's going to reset all that data back to the original data from the clip. Okay, so whenever you press reset, it just adds an absolute key and resets the data to that data from the clip. I don't want to do that at this point because it'll look weird. It'll just look like this. He'll go down really fast and then up like this. But what we want to do is after he launches, so don't worry about all this stuff right here. We just need to worry about where he lands, which is about here. You can see the left leg lands about here. Okay, and that's going to, we're going to have a keyframe right there just for now. Okay, reset at an absolute key right there. So you can see like this. It'll launch. But in the middle of the jump, what we want to do is we want to press reset again. Now, instead of this position, we're going to do the opposite of what we did before. We're going to really stretch out our character. So let's take the chest and we'll rotate the chest back like this. We'll even do the head as well. Okay, like that. And what I can do is I can hold control and click on both the legs here, or both the feet rather, press the W hotkey and move them both back like this simultaneously. Okay, so now it looks, and then we'll have to rotate those feet as well, so we'll press the E hotkey so they're not looking weird like that. Okay, so this is what it looks like more when your character is jumping. And we'll take those arms and move them back as well, rotate them backwards like this. In this case, you may even want to, oops, use the x-axis here. In this case, you may even want to get a front view of your character, so just to make sure that it looks like your character is in a good position. Okay, we can probably rotate it a little bit, like this thigh, for example, just slightly like that. And I think everything else looks fine. We don't need to worry too much about the position of the chest, but we can always move that as well. Okay, so now what we have is we have a transition from this preparation to spring, and then he goes whoop like that, and then he's going to land. But when he lands, I want him to kind of, crouch down as well when he lands. So after he lands, or as he lands, we'll go to this keyframe as he's landing. And we'll just do the same thing for this one. We'll kind of just bring it down like this, okay, because he's landing a bit harder. And we'll bring his chest forward again. So repeat the same process like this. And don't worry about the timing like I mentioned before right now. We're going to adjust all the timing and stuff later. We just want to get the basic motions down. So let's do this, and we can bring the head maybe a little bit up. Okay, let's bring that arm slightly back and out. And just remember that we can always reset everything, recall everything back to the original raw data and modify from there. So then he'll land like this, maybe a little bit off-centered, so we can probably just take this chest here and move it a little bit like this, or even the waist can be moved slightly. Okay, just make sure he's landing kind of relatively straight. All right, we can rotate the chest as well. Okay, so we'll work with that. So what we've done is we've added 3 separate keyframes to enhance the motion. So we have the launch preparation. So he's getting ready to launch right here. So taking a step and then launching like that, and then crouching down like that. And then at this point here, we'll want to press reset again and take him back to the original like this. So he'll pop back up like that. But of course, we want that popping back up to be a little bit delayed. So we'll just, there you go. Okay, so it looks like this. And now he's, there we go. So now we have, if we play back, that looks a little bit better. And again, don't worry about the time. We're going to enhance that a little bit further. What we want to do is we want to get this basic stuff down. So we'll have like this. Maybe if I want him to launch into that, we'll call it a thrust maybe a little bit earlier. A thrust forward, we can click and drag that main keyframe there, the absolute key. We can also click and right-click and copy that keyframe and maybe paste it a bit further down if we want to, have that pose a little bit longer. So that's like this. Okay, so he just kind of stretches into that pose a little bit longer than before, and I think we're good right here. So stretching out, and then landing hard and popping back up into the default. Okay, so we've done all that. Now, what I can do, like generally, if you want to modify this jump, this motion a little bit further later on, you're not totally sure, you have to get your boss's approval or something. Right now, I would go ahead and save the project. So I go to File and Save Project, and save it as jumping draft or something. But if you're fully confident that this is the motion that you want, I've spent about 5 minutes, 10 minutes on it. I can right click on the clip now. And what I can do is just go ahead and flatten motion clip. And what that's going to do, I'm going to flatten all parts here. That's going to bake all of the motion key edits that I did into the clip. So now the data we've totally changed the data like this. Okay, we have this jumping forward like that. Great. Okay, that's perfect. That's really all we need to do. And the next part we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at changing the transform position of the jump. Okay, so the transform position is the position on the world stage. So let's go ahead and as he's getting prepared to jump, so ready as he's launching, so he launches about right here. Okay, so what we want is at this point right here, we want to have his a transform keyframe just right here. We're going to double click on the transform track, and then here we're going to, you can see his foot slides a little bit. Now you may not want this if we zoom in close on the foot, so you can also correct foot sliding like this. You can see it slides back a little bit from about there to there. So what we can do is at this point we can just press the W hotkey. Let's get out of the edit motion layer tool first. Press the W hotkey and it'll show your character's transform gizmo, and you can just go ahead and move it a little bit forward. So now I'm just using an approximate right here, approximation. So right there, and then he'll jump from there. So we've kind of fixed our jump. And for the jump, we just want to set 3 simple keyframes. The first keyframe we can set is how long do we want this jump to go for. So if he's jumping like this, we'll kind of estimate, and here's where he lands, just like this. Okay, we'll throw it maybe a couple meters forward, just something like this. Okay, so what's going to happen now is we have like that, and it looks maybe like he's floating a little bit too much, so we can make it a little bit earlier. Okay, and then in the middle somewhere, right about here, we want to increase the height of the jump, because obviously it looks like he's just like floating forward as opposed to actually jumping. So somewhere in the middle of those 2 keyframes, we want to bring our character up on the Z-axis here. So about like right here, and then we have this. Okay, and that looks fine. Of course, the landing is a bit soft. It's almost like he's landing to a float landing, and we're going to enhance that a little bit later on. And the way we're going to enhance that is with the curve editor. Okay, we have a fun little tool called the curve editor. Right now it's all very linear, but we're going to use that curve editor to really enhance the motion of our character, the position rather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the second keyframe here. I'll go ahead and do that and go into curve editor here. Now you can also use transition curve presets, but let's take a look at what happens with transition curve presets and why they're limited in this sort of scenario. So if I select transition curve preset right here, right now it's set to default, which is sort of like an ease in, ease out, sort of smooth. What I would want to do is, in this case, between the keyframe at frame, roughly frame 47, I think it is, and the current frame, which is 66, we want to have our character like launch really fast. So what we want to do is we want to have a decelerate transition curve preset, just like this. And what that does is that makes most of the motion occur between the first half of the transition. So from here, so you can see he'll launch faster and then sort of float at this point. So if we play back now, he'll kind of pause almost at the top, just like this, and then float down. And what we can do here is we may want to have the opposite. We may want to have accelerate. So it almost looks like he's floating in the middle and accelerates as he lands. So we have accelerate. And what's going to happen now is we have decelerate, and there's a pause in the middle, and then accelerate towards the last keyframe. So here's what we do. You can see it pauses sort of in the middle, just like that. So the problem with that is it doesn't look very realistic. It looks kind of cool, like he's pausing in the middle there, but not super realistic. And we can fix that using the curve editor. One way you can try to alleviate that sort of pause in the middle is decrease the strength of your decelerate. So maybe we take that down to like 20 something. And then we take the accelerate down to 20 something as well. So you can dictate the degree of acceleration and deceleration. So you'd have a little bit of a less pronounced effect right here. But then again, you wouldn't have that landing that we want. Okay, and I think that's what we want to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the curve editor. We're going to leave those transition presets already in there. I'm going to close that down. And we're going to go into the curve editor now. So let's go ahead into the curve editor on the second keyframe here. And the only two curves we're going to be editing are the position Y. So the green axis here is your Y axis, and the blue axis is the Z axis. Okay, so we have position Y, and if we click that, you can see there's our Y position and the curve that we've. You can see the transition curve right there. So accelerate and decelerate. As we move along there. Let's just hold control and zoom in there a little bit so we can widen up the perspective. We can move down a little bit as well. And then there's position Z. Okay, so position Z, very simple, up and down. All right, up and down. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use, the Z one is fine. Now what we can do is we can, for example, zoom in on the Z axis here. We can take that up here, and you can see the value will increase as well. So you can make our character jump higher like this, which looks pretty cool. And then we can, we can make him achieve that height a little bit earlier in the jump, just like this. So, and then he kind of float down a little bit more. We can have him achieve that height a little bit later in the jump, like this. Okay, it looks a little bit weird though, so I'm going to Control Z that twice. We're going to take it back right to the middle here, and maybe not as high of a jump. Okay, we have to make it still look a little bit realistic, although it is fairly dynamic. Okay, so we have that just floating away. We're going to adjust the position Y mostly here. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit on the position Y. So we have these 3 keyframes here. This one right here is right after our initial jump. So we have this right here, and then that's the keyframe that we added to fix the toe position there. Okay, and so this one right here, it's already a little bit further down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it up a little bit like this. Okay, and you can see he'll move back a little bit. So we don't want him launching until right about this point. So here, like this. And we'll just move it a little bit forward here. Just like that. Okay, so here, looks good. Okay, so launching just like that. And what we want to do here is I'm going to add a keyframe here. And we can do that by just going up here and selecting Add Keyframe. And clicking on the part 1, add a keyframe on. And then let's Control zoom in here. And we want to make this a bit higher. We want to kind of adjust the position of this keyframe like this. Now we can also right-click on that keyframe and use tangents and curve. But I'm going to use a tangent here. We're going to just go ahead and use a fast tangent, okay? And that kind of increases it like this. We get a bit more of a dynamic curve, and we can take that down like this. And this is kind of what we want. If we just move these frames ahead, we can also use these tangent arms here and get the adjustment position that we want. So what's going to happen here, you'll see it'll just like really shoot off from here to here. It'll really shoot off. Okay, so, and then we can probably take this one as well and just take the arms and adjust them slightly like this. Now you don't want to make things too complicated here. So at the front here we have it really kind of launching off really fast, and then here he gets to the midpoint, and then here as he lands, so launching really fast at the front here, and then as he lands, we can make that landing a little bit more dynamic as well. So and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to add another keyframe and use a transition curve preset for that. So let's go ahead and see as he lands here, let's focus on the landing now. So I think I'm pretty happy with the floating in the middle there. And as he lands, just like this, what we're going to do is I'm going to just kind of go right here, and I'm going to add another keyframe about right here. So let's go ahead and add another keyframe and just click over here. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to right click on that, and we're going to use a curve and transition curve preset. And this time I'm going to use end and a bounce. So what's going to happen from this frame to this frame, then he'll kind of bounce a little bit. You can see there's kind of a boing kind of bounce right there. Okay, I can maybe even bring it further down a little bit. And if we take it up like this, you can see the effect that it has. Okay, so right here. And you don't want to make it too dynamic. You just want to make it a little, very, very slight. Okay, ending in a bounce like this. And there you go. As he lands, boom. We have a little bit of a bounce, and that's about it. You can kind of adjust that position as well and go from there. So we have like this, boom. Okay, I think we're fine with that. And I can even maybe take this frame here and have the landing be a bit more dynamic as well. So he'll float until a lot more movement right here. We maybe don't want it that extreme. Maybe a bit something like this. So let's go ahead and take a look at the entire jump now. Zoom out so you can see the entire thing. Let's close down our transition curve presets, get those out of the way. And we have something like this. Okay, so now we have a much, compared to the previous jump that we had, this is a lot more dynamic, a lot more interesting. And we can, of course, modify that further later on once we've saved the project, and we can just go from there. So I think we're good with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and maybe take this frame a little bit further up, just like that. Let's go ahead and play that back. Oop. All right, I think I'm okay with that. I'm not going to mess around too much with this. I just kind of wanted to show you the capabilities, the possibilities there of all the modifications you can make with the curve editor. Okay, just like that. All right, so that's pretty cool. And what I'm going to show you now is we can actually just take all those, you can see all the transform keyframes up here that we've modified. What I can do is I can take all those clips and I could just blend them together, or merge them together rather. So I can just control click on all these clips just like this, and right click and select merge, merge clips right here, and they'll all merge together. Don't worry about these absolute keys right here. We can always just delete those. It really has no effect. So let's play back the entire thing. Ooh. All right, so he takes that one step and suddenly just launches off the ground and lands like this. All right, cool. Now, if we wanted to bring this into our Unreal project, that's fairly easy as well with Unreal Livelink for the Unreal Livelink plugin for iClone. So let's go ahead and do that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the character because in Unreal over here, I'm going to open up my Unreal project. I already have a character prepared, okay? This guy's already been imported. The import process just takes a couple of minutes. I'll show you how to do that real quick here over in iClone. So if you want to, first we're going to switch our character. And this is something cool you can do in iClone is you can switch out any character because they all share the same bone rigs. Compatible bone rigs, rather. So you can swap out that character for Zane. Okay, so we can go ahead and see Zane do the same jump just like that. Pretty cool. Or we can actually swap it out for the base male as well, which is the guy I have prepared in my Unreal project. Okay, now he's already imported in, so I'm going to go over to my Unreal Livelink tab here. And generally when you want to, you have to set up your link first. So go ahead and select Activate Link. Right here, it's going to activate everything. And then what you want to do is you want to go over to Transfer, and you want to have your characters and whatever stuff I don't want the lights to transfer over. I just want the character to transfer over. So generally what I would do is I would transfer the character file, just select the character, and transfer over, and that would take a couple of minutes just to basically import your character, get all the materials and textures right, and consolidate the bone rigs and everything, and then you go over to the link and make sure your link is activated, make sure that the green light is on for base male, and let's go ahead and minimize this a little bit, and we'll take Unreal and bring it over here. So now you can see our character's position has changed from the T-pose. And now he's kind of set in this pose here. So if I, let's go ahead and close down our modified tab for now. If I scroll forward, you can see our character will have the same motion in iClone and in Unreal. Okay, so we can just zoom over a little bit in Unreal here and get a look at our character. And again, make sure that you also, I'm just going to maximize this for a sec. You also want to make sure you go to your Livelink tab and you have to add and make sure you have Livelink set here. And press OK. We've already done that though. Okay. And you also need to make sure you have the Livelink plugin installed, obviously, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go ahead and just take this back to the original size here. And that's really all there is to it. Of course, you need to make sure that your character's name is the same. So to base male, okay, and to base underscore male in Unreal as well here. And basically, the Unreal Livelink will automatically import everything in. You can see our to base male here as well set in the Unreal project. And we can just play back. And there you go. It kind of just jumps forward, which is pretty cool. Maybe you can get a little bit of a different view here. And that's all she wrote. Okay, so that's really how easy it is to take, if you're working in Unreal, you can use Noitom Studio to just capture stuff remotely. Whether you're across the ocean over in Norway, we've done that, in Vancouver or Miami, and you have your motion capture actors in a different location. The producer can record that, get the raw data. You can send it to someone in iClone on a different computer somewhere else even, or you can obviously edit that data live at location and then live stream it into Unreal Engine. So you get all the lighting and all the materials surrounding or included in the project, so it looks a lot better in terms of shading and all that stuff. All right, so that's really about all there is to this this webinar here, guys. Thanks so much for attending, and thanks to Daniel for providing us with that raw motion capture and doing some dancing around with the Noitom Studio outfit there. And if you have any questions, you can always email Daniel at the email that we showed earlier on. And you can email me as well for any iClone questions. That's kai@reallusion.com, kai@reallusion.com. And thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next webinar.